What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Snapchat. We have the What If season landing in Marvel Snap, and there's a lot of cool cards that this season brings, including Infinity, Ultron, and more. New ways to get cards. It's going to be a good one and a good season as Alex and I rank all of the cards and give our impressions if you should get them and our overall synergies that we can find. We're going to talk about the OTA, the balance patch. There's a lot to break down, and we're going to talk about that all today. More on this episode of the Snapchat. And as always, I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Alex Kocha. And if you guys like the late night episodes, you've come to the right episode of the Snapchat. We've got ourselves a late one today. The slurs will be long. The showers will be high quantity. We're at give or take plus or minus 3 for the shower count. Could be more by the end of this. We have no Snapchat mailbag on my side. We do have it on his side. Last time, late night mailbag, it was chaos here. But we got ourselves a fun time in Snap. New card acquisition announced. We've got, a cool What If season. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I'm fresh off I'm a big college basketball fan, and my team had an epic collapse of all time. And so I'm trying to manage my emotions. I might break down crying. And that just could be because of, actually it's just purely from frustration. But yeah, man, it's good. This is the cold, dark part of sports, though, man. It's just baseball pretty much over here now till it's not, is what I tell myself.
Yeah, see, I don't watch any baseball at all. And March Madness, you need to really understand, the American University College, athletics is unseen anywhere else in the world, right? If anyone in Canada would be like, yo, we're going to watch college basketball, I'd be like, why? Why would you watch this, man? Yeah, I'd rather watch my kids play soccer and just bumblebee, right? So we were at, actually, the other night, my buddy, he moved into a new place. So we went to a little pub near his house, right? Just checking the local scene out. And they had the March Madness going. And I had no idea what any of the schools were. But I was like, man, those uniforms look really cool. I thought the uniforms looked cool and stuff. I think we were watching Tennessee and someone. I don't know, they were orange. And I thought it was amazing. People were going nuts. The stadium was packed for a college game. I was like, are you kidding me? The CFL can't draw that. The CFL is 15 people watching sometimes.
I'm the biggest NFL fan I know in college football, but I would put the round of 64, so the opening round, and even past that, but really the round of 64 as the second or third best day in sports. It's just so freaking cool. The playoffs are great, all that. In NFL, but it's just, there's something, I don't know. I think college sports in general is cool. I went to Texas Tech, so I'm big fan of, I have a lot of loyalty to my college, even though I don't know why I don't use my degree. I'm I'm a YouTuber. But dude, it's wild to me too. You go to school your whole life to get a degree, and I just chunked mine out a window, somewhere. I don't even have it anywhere. Do people hang those up?
So here's the funny thing. My degree, I never picked up. Those composites where you graduate and you get your photo taken? I didn't show up for my university one. My mom was so upset. And then I didn't pick up my diploma. My mom was so upset. And then I went to teachers college, right? And then we have this, I think it's called a convocation or whatever. You go across, you shake the person's hand. They give you the diploma. They give you the special gown thing to illustrate that you're a teacher now, man. You are a certified teacher. Bro, I didn't even show up. And I didn't even tell my mom what it was. I wasn't even in the picture for the graduating class of the teachers call. And I was like, what is wrong with you?
You don't have the gown?
So I never got the gown. But now when I go to when we have our graduations at school, they've now lent me one. Because it's every university has a special color you wear at a high school graduation to represent where the teacher graduated.
If you hit 1 million subs in your lifetime, I will make a stage, I will get a crowd, and I will give you a gown made of gold and sparkles.
I appreciate that. You want to know the funny thing? I actually do have my diplomas now. Do you know who got them for me? It was a Christmas present from my wife's parents. My in-laws got them for me. They called the universities and got them to I think they had to pay to have them reprinted. And they got them and
that's actually thoughtful. Yeah, I offered him a stage, guys, with glitter, and he just went right on. It's fine. No, it's great. It was heartfelt. I thought maybe you'd want a gold gown.
I didn't want it.
I
gotta get to 1 million subs first, though, man.
I'm burning it. Nope. I'm burning it. Even if you get there now, and I'm gonna say, do you remember March 29th? Heading into this season, I think was it last season or the season before? We weren't exactly. It was the season before. We were not thrilled. How do you feel? What's your 1 to 5 excitement level for the cards as we're about to break into them, and what you think they're gonna do for Snap, competitive wise, fun wise, everything in between?
I would say I'm a 4. right?
Oh, okay.
Last month I had a couple I was excited for, even though a couple of them may have disappointed to some degree. We talked about that a lot. A lot of interesting designs as well. But for this season, like I think that we're going to see a major buff to ongoing, which is super exciting to me. I've always liked the ongoing shells. I think the interactions are very fun. Super Scroll and Enchantress are going to be eating very well
Feasting.
this month, I think. Yeah, absolutely feasting. But overall, like, no, I'm super excited. And when you pair that with the potential for card acquisitions and stuff like that, I think it's a great time to be a Marvel Snap player.
Yeah, I think last season, you said it best. I think last season was more a fun season for trying interesting things. Combos, cards are a little wacky, and this season's a bit more to earth outside of like Infinity Ultron. But the cards here I like because they're very like stable, good archetype cards, and that I think that's really good. Not to say they can't be experimented with and there's some chaos in there, but like this feels a much more grounded season, even though it's what if, which is kind of funny. It's supposed to be probably the most wild season. But with that, we're going to go ahead and talk about all the cards, breaking down our thoughts, and we'll do a light touch up on the OT. Alex, what are we talking about on your side of the Snapchat?
Cozy, on my side of Snapchat, we're going to be reviewing all of the cards from last season and going through our final rankings and see how we end up. We're also going to be talking about the new card acquisition model of Marvel Snap, the information we have. We're going to give you our feedback on it. And then, as always, our Snapchat mailbag.
Well, buddy, we're going to just kind of get right into it. We have a lot of cards to cover today. And, you know, I think there's some interesting things that we can break down with these, some that you guys may have not expected. So we start off with Captain Carter right off the rip, Alex. A 4/3 with an ongoing effect that it's going to add this card's power to the back row of cards here. So everything obviously behind a Captain Carter. Obviously can't add it to itself. Pretty damn cool ability when you look at it, with some nice potential, good synergy, and there's a lot to dive into here. But obviously before that, what are you thinking, man, about Captain Carter? What's your star rating?
Star rating, man. This month is by far one of the hardest to star rate
dude,
I've had in a
that
while.
too. I'm glad I'm not alone. Okay.
Yeah. Like I feel like I'm pretty high on most of the cards, with maybe one or two that I'm lower on. Captain Carter, I'm pretty decently high on. I'm giving her 4 stars. And for that reason why is like you can see the potential combinations with like with Captain America and everything else, and like the amount of potential she has is incredible. The thing that holds me back is how this macro interaction of the lanes, not the lanes, but like the positioning, if it's going to be easy enough to kind of control.
Yeah.
But I had this thought, Cozy, let me know. I think that Captain Carter was the actual reason why Doom 2099 got
no
nerfed so
question.
many times
We'll get there in just a moment. No question that's the reason. And one other card, obviously, that'll be the next one to talk about. I agree. It's funny, like right off the rip, you look at her stats and what she does. I'm like 5-star, right? Like, I mean, dude, this is just a good card, value all the way. But I agree, and it's not even just the fact of cards behind her. For me, and again, we could be doing the in-review next month and be laughing at ourselves, like, how do we not see it was a 5-star? To me, though, when you're stacking that heavy in a lane, right, do you need all that power in the lane? Now, there's cards we're going to talk about, but, like, you're committing so much cost and power to one side of things, and there's a couple decks that I think she's going to be a 5-star card in, right? Like, what her purpose is, but overall, I think I agree with you. I think I'm going to go with about a 4 here. And this is our first time interacting with the back row thing. So we're going to have to see if that, ends up being something that's easy, hard, and then we're going to have a good foot moving forward with it. Now, obviously, yes, let's go ahead and start with, I think let's just start with ongoing cards in general here. Spectrum, I think this is a great Spectrum card. We're going to see a lot of its potential because you got cheap cards that you can throw in there behind. Almost all the cards in this season just have kind of synergy with each other. There's a lot of them that want to be with one another. So I think we got that going for her. Yeah, she's cool. She's interesting. I think, man, they definitely had to make her forecast. Anything other than that was going to go a bit too crazy. But man, I mean, outside of Spectrum, there's one clear and obvious archetype that I think is her bread and butter. But I'll hand it off to you.
I was gonna say it has to be the Doom 2099 style archetype, because what you're looking at is the opportunity to, because you do have Doom 2099 Spectrum decks, and if you think about running something like a Psylocke, where you can sneak out the Doom 2099 early, or conversely, you can sneak out the Captain Carter early. You have these multiple play lines, which those decks tend to prefer, because if you put all your eggs in one basket in some of the deck building scenarios, then you're going to find yourself disappointed half the time. But some of the best decks out there are the ones that seem to have all these multiple bylines, like the way that the modern Scream decks work. You don't draw Scream, but you have Iron Patriot, and you have Sam Wilson, and you have Craven, and like you have all these other ways to win. And so like, yeah, I definitely think that Doom 2099 in testing was absolutely cracked, because the Spectrum variant of that deck is gonna love Captain Carter.
Yeah, it just makes it easy. And then, of course, yeah, you're having a card that's able to produce more and more cards. It just kind of makes sense together. I actually think Tribunal will be fun, too. I think Tribunal, like, is more than a meme here by a good amount. I mean, having the Onslaught, like, the curve out is really cool now. It's got an obvious hard counter. You know, Tribunal is going to do Tribunal things. But clearly, the scaling is even crazier. So the floor is that much better. And then you can also get things going if you don't get certain draws. So I like that. You know, I like that you mentioned Psylocke. I think she's the definition of, there are like 5 or 6 4-cost cards that would be cracked with her, right? Like from Galacta, you name it. There's so many things that can continue to give her power that she can pump behind her. And a lot of those cards are 4-cost cards, you know? Now, listen, a lot of people, they're pissed off about the whole Captain America shield and not giving her power. Yeah, way into this, Alex. The argument was that it's, if Captain America never existed and she existed, the shield wouldn't be Captain America's shield, it'd be Captain Britain. So apparently that's the argument. What do you think?
I tend to think that Glenn is going to fiercely defend the fact that this is not Captain America's shield, and he'll forever do so simply for balance reasons. Yeah. You will never convince him otherwise, simply for balance reasons.
Because
if she was getting buffed by Sam Wilson's shield, do you have any idea how pissed off and cracked that would be? Everyone would be so mad. Yeah. It would be so unbelievably busted. So for pure balance reasons, you'll never see Glenn say anything other than it's not Cap's shield.
Dude, that in the 2099 deck, he'll die on those hills, and we'll let him have it. But yeah, I know people have gone through it. Totally get it. I think this is just we're just gonna move on. Is what they have to say there. I think it was dangerous wording what they did with the give Cap shield. There's not gonna be another Cap most likely. So I don't know. Interesting pickle they got themselves in. But yeah, dude. I think we've fallen into the trap of these power boosted cards before. Scarlet Spider comes to mind, where it's like, in theory, there's like some really crazy stuff that you can do. But I think she's a bit easier just because of the way that she's going to work. Although, could this tip the scales? Could you have the Ironheart Agony, Gwenpool, Scarlet Spider? Maybe. We'll have to find out. But I think just at a core baseline, what she does well is going to be, worth her spot in a good amount of decks.
No, for sure, dude. Like, I actually think that she can definitely be impactful. And if you want to get into a bit of cope right off the bat, like, okay, listen, I know people are going to talk some smack here. She is a 4-cost. I'm just going to throw this out there. If you Jean Grey, Captain America, and Mojo, right, and you have that kind of setup, you're forcing them to play into your location, and also you're going to be filling that location anyway with ongoings, and she'll buff that up and help to trade that location. Maybe you throw in Namor in the right lane, you know what I mean?
Omega Red, Omega Red in the Mojo lane. They're going to lose it. There's no shot they win it. I like it. The Moonstone, if you just want to go even crazy. I think Moonstone, not with this card, but Moonstone's going to be feasting this month too. But Super Scroll, man, the stocks on Super Scroll, like, this is the easiest. Like, you want to save money, everybody's gonna be playing this card. Super Scroll it up, get all the benefits, rejoice. But yeah, man, I think what I'm gonna be interested in is seeing kind of these filler decks, right, where you've got, like, I don't know, Wasps and Mr. Sinisters, Mysterios, you name it, Squirrels, just trying to fill that back line with her. And that's gonna be we'll see how those decks kind of come together and what they end up being. But it's cool, man, to see a deck like the Spectrum deck continue to get better and better since the release of this game. And, like, now it's becoming a serious threat, man. And I think, do you have any other things to say about Captain Carter?
Yeah, I think about, like, the feedback loops that are available in something like ongoing. Like, what happens with a Blue Marvel, right? Blue Marvel's going to buff Captain Marvel, or not Captain Marvel, Captain Carter, and she's going to then apply that buff into the back row, but that back row is also being buffed by Blue Marvel, so you're kind of double dipping on that buff. So I think that's kind of cool, worth considering. What if you onslaught the Captain Carter Blue Marvel lane, and then it doubles the double, which then pulls it back? And then I just think that's kind of fascinating, and I'll let the game do the math on it. But I think you're right, man. If you're running like a Zabu style deck with this, and you just literally run like Super Scroll, Gwenpool, Galacta, and Captain Carter, like you're just kind of laughing because you're gonna feast. And the thing I think is that for the first couple of weeks, especially with a couple of the cards we're gonna be talking about upcoming, there's oh man, there's so many interesting cards this month. Super Scroll is gonna be a legit perfect card to add to your collection because it's going to be a great counter card, but also I think it's going to help you win mirror matches, which we've seen in the past before.
Yeah, man. It's funny, as you were talking about that, there's a card that I haven't seen anyone talk about that I always got to go back to that I think actually has real potential. A little bit of a cook of my own. Not cope, just a cook. It's Ultron, because if you even think about just the bare minimum play of going with what you just said, you go Carter, Blue Marvel, and then Ultron. Like, you're able to play Ultron where you want to, so you can play it, like, behind the Carter to get boosted up nice. You got the Blue Marvel, so you're kicking up Ultron to, really good metrics at that point. But then you got the drone, so you can play him somewhere else, get a nice little stack of power. Those drones are going to both land behind her, boost up to the moon, right? And then you also have a whole nother lane with the drones. Like, that's just a lot happening. I kind of like him as a nice little finisher in her deck.
I do as well. And I think one of the key things that kind of holds back Captain Carter's versatility is the fact that she should be in the first row. If she's in the second row, if it interacts the way I would expect, she just buffs the card beside her type thing. So if you're able to play her into a row where she's one of the first two cards and she's by herself, Ultron solves that problem.
Yep.
Right. And I actually don't think it's cope at all. And sometimes the difference between coping and cooking is a very fine line.
It's a fine line. Now, me and you, let's be honest. Like, there's this tension in the room right now that we're just holding back. This happens sometimes when we film. It's the next card we want to talk about that just has everything to do with what we want to talk about here, so we might as well just bring it in. We've got Goliath, guys. Goliath is a Goliath of a card. 2/1 ongoing, +1 for each ongoing card that you have played. So it's the Morbius, if you will, kind of the ongoing archetype. Brother, this card is going to go bonkers. This is such a good card, man. What do you have for star ratings on this one?
This is an easy 5-star clap.
Easy 5, right?
Yeah. Easy 5. This I can't believe this card didn't already exist.
No, yeah. Well, we've been talking about it for 2 years now that we want a card, more archetypes to get the +1, +2 kind of scaling cards, if you will. And I think for a while there wasn't enough for other archetypes to keep, like, some of these, like, if Move would have got whatever, it would have been too much. And I think right now, like, the time and the place is right. This card is good anywhere, bro. This is such a good card that it's going to go crazy, especially the 2-cost slot. Like, that's the number one reason why it's so cooked, man. This thing is going to go nuts. I just talked about Moonstone. That's got to be probably the biggest crazy combo with it. What do you think, man?
Yeah, Moonstone, absolutely insane this month. Absolutely wild with Goliath, sorry. Honestly, like, I think one of the major challenges with Spectrum for so long has been that you haven't had inexpensive cards worth hitting, because Spectrum does a blanket +2.
Yep.
So if you're hitting kind of chunks with that +2, it's disproportionately better to hit smaller cards. And I think Sam Wilson and his shield was particularly beneficial to the Spectrum style decks because they were 2 cards in one that could get hit by the Spectrum buff, right?
Yep.
And one of the challenges that the ongoing decks have is, like, if you look at the inexpensive slots, they don't have many 1-drops that, like, you really want to add to the deck. You have the Ant-Man, of course. It just gets a little thin from there. But in the 2-drops, you used to cope with stuff like Goose. You'd even play Armor just because, like, why wouldn't you type thing?
Yeah,
right?
just like
Colossus, because you wanted targets, right? Now, Goliath, are you kidding me? Goliath makes Colossus look like a complete dumbass. Like, why would you ever play that card when you can play Goliath, who is literally borderline it's Morbius for ongoing. Morbius is ongoing, but you know what I mean,
yeah,
right?
It's the Morbius for ongoing, exactly. Listen, and I said a blunder there when I was saying the description of the card. It's not that you have played, it's in play. So Doom 2099, it's so funny because we look at what they did to the card and we're like, oh no, like, I can't believe it. And now it's like, is it enough? Like, it's going to go wild, man. I mean, that's just so much synergy. Combine the fact that he's 2, that you can get going with Captain Carter, then you go into Doom, and then you finish with Doom. Good go. I mean, that's going to be Surtur level of easy to play that does a lot of power. That's going to be tough to put up with. Obviously, there's the more clear answer on how to counter it, but it looks good.
The thing I see is, like, do you remember how Speed was like, this is not an exciting card? This is better than Speed at the 2-drop slot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the capabilities of this are higher than that of Speed. And Speed is a good card. You know what I mean? This is a higher ceiling than Speed, if you can believe it or not. Like honestly, the only thing that gets me a little nervous about a card like this, I think it prevents you from having like a Zoo ongoing card. And I think that Sam Wilson's probably the closest you get. And by Zoo, I mean like you can't have a Squirrel Girl that throws ongoings, because then Goliath just feasts and Spectrum just feasts, right?
Yeah.
So I think that like this card is a bit of a design constraint. I could see it going down to 2-0. I'm actually surprised it's coming out as a 2-1. I think it might be a little hot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has a lot of potential. I mean, you could even go with like Goliath into Mystique, and then you could just start playing a bunch of low cheap cards and make it work. I don't know, bro. But yeah, I do agree. I think it is coming in hot, and it's crazy to think of that as even just a 2-1. Morbius is a 2-0. He turns out fine, so 2-1 at that, crazy. You know, you can do Ravonna synergy with it to get it even cheaper. Ravonna's an ongoing card, so that helps kind of get that whole thing rolling. And then obviously, yeah, as we just talked about, the Captain America, the shield immediately giving him a buff is just so like, God, that thing is just so good. That card is so stupid strong. You know, it's crazy to see. You know, the Spectrum decks, this is what's really going to supercharge it. You've got the Doom thing, but then you also have this just fitting into like a wide variety of decks where it has solid value regardless. So yeah, I'm excited. I think this thing can go to the moon, and this is probably the card of the month.
For sure. I think it's one of the absolute strongest power-wise of the month.
Kahhori is a 4/6 on reveal. Each card in your hand gives one of your cards in play +1 power. Kahhori, what do you think about this 4/6? What's your star rating?
This is a great example. There's 2 cards in this batch of cards that I'm so happy we got the trailer in advance. They had to change the wording on this. I don't know if you noticed that. They adjusted the wording. This is a totally different effect than what it sounded like before. Like before, it's almost sounded like one card was getting the power of Kahhori. And now in the trailer, you see it's spreading the power. And that changes a lot, because that makes cards like Sebastian Shaw like it a lot more and stuff like that, right? The fact that you're spreading the power is a very different thing. And so, yeah, I like Kahhori. I think it's good, man. I think it's good. I can't see it being lower than 4-star. This is a very good 4-star. I don't see it hitting the 5-star level, but I'm very comfortable at like a solid 4-star here.
Yeah, I think so. I just don't know ultimately how many decks it ends up being in. Like, I think the week she comes out, it's really good. Like, just on paper, she's gonna have like her stats are gonna make sense for a 4-cost card. The power spreading out, sometimes you're not going to want that, you know, and it's random, so you do have that going on. I agree. I have 3.5. You definitely convinced me. I think that, you know, obviously like hand-sized decks and stuff that can generate a lot of cards, and, you know, we're never going to see Devil Dinosaur in the collector deck come back. There's just no way. But that kind of style would have been like her main home. But then Captain Carter, for one, let's just talk about that. It's a 4-cost, so it doesn't, you know, it's not all that much, but you get some power there for Captain and get some more things buffed up. I just want to know, like, you know, Galacta was the standard of like the 4 that can be played anywhere. I don't know if she's got that kind of staying power, but she definitely is solid. Like, she can do a lot. There are some, like, Galacta didn't have any restrictions other than playing another lane. This one, you have to at least have your cards and you got to have some things cooking a little bit. But the value's there. So I have her 3.5. I want to see kind of where she fits in.
I think she is going to be niche. I think that what you have to consider is that Victoria Hand was solid when it released.
Yeah.
Those decks were close to being like legit. They just didn't quite make it to the top. And people in Marvel Snap, they tend to play the best because they want to be competitive. And Victoria Hand was just outside that. This is a Victoria Hand card. This is a hand gen card. And that deck with this power infusion, I think, is significantly stronger.
Yeah.
And you only need one deck really to make a card shine.
Oh, for sure, man. And then, yeah, you start snowballing the Iron Patriot and Agent Coulson, and you got variants, and then RG's kind of like the point of it in a good way. So, I agree. I think there could be a lot here. I'm going to be excited how it goes out. I'm going to go a little lower at 3.5, but I still think it's a great card. Speaking of, man, so anything else there, by the way? I mean, I feel like there's plenty we could talk about with her, but also not. She's on reveal. We could say Wong. We could say, you know, Grandmaster, Absorbent, whatever. It's the 4 cost. Like, if that, you know, it's just tough to make things work from there.
Yeah, it's just the cards. Like I think that like Scarlet Spider could
Yeah.
be potentially a target. Captain Marvel likes the extra power. But what I would like for you to do, Cozy, just right off the top, I'm putting you on the spot. I like you to rank these three cards: Kahhori, Gwenpool, Galacta. How would you rank those three?
Yeah, because Gwenpool.
So hard now, especially with the
No,
nerf to
I would
Galacta,
go.
eh?
I would go Galacta, Kahhori, then Gwen.
Gwenpool?
Yeah, Gwen. It's so much harder to control your deck than the cards in play. So Kahhori, at least you can like get. You could map it out a bit easier. I think Galacta is just consistently good, like consistently strong. Obviously, they had a nerfer, so that's probably my order. How about you?
You know what? I tend to agree with what you're saying. I might put Kahhori over Gwenpool. The only reason why is because I think Kahhori of those cards is the one that can be played late, can be played on turn 6. You know what I mean? You can play it in conjunction with a Mirage, or if you have extra energy, you can play with the Coulson, and it'll spread power. You know what I mean? It'll be disproportionate, pretty good for your lineup. So yeah, like I don't know. Those other two definitely want to be out early. Kahhori can be played late, so they're all different. You said
over Gwenpool. Do you mean Galacta? I'm just curious.
I said what?
No, we could do an emergency shower. No, so rank them number one. What's number one out of those three?
I would go Galacta, Gwenpool.
Okay.
No, sorry, Galacta, Kahhori, Gwenpool.
Okay, so we're the same. Okay, that was my ordering as well. Okay, I wanted to make sure.
Oh, I thought you had Kahhori last.
No, she's second. No, I think she's better than Gwenpool. Gwenpool's too tough. I was saying Gwenpool, you have to manage your hand, and so that's tougher to do than managing cards in play. Essentially, does that mean like to target the plus power? Is my thought. If you were to take them to a candlelight dinner, what would be your order 1, 2, 3 for a candlelight dinner?
Oh damn! You know what? I think I'd go Kahhori 1. You know, my family has some indigenous relatives and roots, and so I would like to learn more about the Mohawk tradition.
What a man of the people! Who would you take to a candlelight dinner? And he's like, my family comes. Hey, that's a solid answer, Alex. That's mine.
You.
Mine is I turn them all down. I take Arrow to a hell of a time. That's
like a true gentleman.
Yeah. Well, buddy, definitely excited to see where Kahhori ends up. We're placing through these cards, man. Again, but these are a little bit more level to earth, right? Like, we talked about friggin' fire hair last time, and you got like a million things you could talk about. But then we get to the next card, and this is the big tuna. This is the what could there be going on here? We have Infinity Ultron, guys. Infinity Ultron is going to be a 5/6, and when you play him down, he's going to give you 2 of his Infinity Stones to your hand. And my friend, we don't have the stones. They didn't give us. I'll be putting them in post here. We're gonna read through the stones one at a time. Let's start with his base before we get to the stones. Just his base. He's a 5/6. Adds 2 of these stones. These stones are relatively pretty good. What are your initial impressions before diving into the stones?
I got a little bit of bad news. I think I talked myself out of liking Infinity Ultron. Okay. I think I like it still as a card.
What do you have?
But I think I doubt its power.
I think that's fair. I actually think we gave him a 3. I think I gave him a 3 last time. I think I'm sticking with a 3.
I was gonna say I have him as 3. I have him as 3. I thought that was gonna be low. I thought you were gonna be way higher than that.
No,
really?
no.
So we're on the same page.
No, but he's a 5-star fun card. So, like, this is one of those cards that it's just like it's fun to play. It's like the Mr. Negative archetype. It's like that to me is what this card is, right? So like, we see this every season, every other season. You've got like the competitive cards, the try-hard cards, the ones that are fun, that aren't dominant always, but fun. And then you got the others, you got the crap cards out there too. But I would agree. I think competitively it's a 3, and I don't know if it's going to make much room there. But it's, put it this way, because it reminds you negative, because there are stone combos that you can get, as I'm about to read them, that win you games. Like, you'll just win the game, if you get these stone combos. And then there's stuff that you're like, there's not enough momentum there. And that's the negative. You know what I mean? Like, that's where it's fun and not competitive.
You know where my thought process went? The reason why I talked myself down off liking this card too much, and I think you're right, but you won't be able to reliably get specific combos, right? Because it's going to be random what cards you get. I want you to think about how not bad, but how it feels to play Sarah on turn 5. You play Sarah and you feel like you're behind on that turn. Like you've given something up on that turn to play Sarah. This is only 1 power more than that. And then the whole backup plan or the whole reason why you play Sarah is then you come back that next 6 turns
exactly
with the gravy, right? And this is exactly the same thing, except you're coming with like random stones. Whereas Sarah, it's like Silver Surfer, Abs Man. Like you got a plan, right? Like you got these bangers. You got you Juggernaut him out of here. You Surfer into whatever. Like you have a plan of 3 cards if you're playing Surfer, for instance. With Infinity Ultron, you might win the lottery of the stones you get. You might not win the lottery. Do you run 6 drops, or do you just rely on the Infinity Ultron for turn 6? So for me, I was like,
Dude, fresh off March Madness, like Sarah Miracle is like a free throw to win it, and then Ultron's like a half-court shot. Like it's like it's just tougher. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage. To read through the stones real quick, guys, we got them all right here. So Ultron Space Stone is a 3/4 on reveal. Move the lowest power enemy card here to the location of Infinity Ultron. All right, so that's the Space Stone, and then we'll gotta go through them all. The Reality Stone, add a drone here and set its power to Infinity Ultrons. Okay. Hold it. Hold your knowledge. You've got the Time Stone 3/1 on reveal. Put a card from your hand here. Mind Stone. Your on reveal ongoing. Your on reveal abilities here happen twice. It's a 3/2. Keep this in mind. Power Stone on reveal. Double Infinity Ultron's power. And then the Soul Stone on reveal for each of your full locations. Give one of your cards here +2 power. So some of these are cracked. Like, some of these are really good, but there's just too much variance. Let's talk about which ones you like the most.
I definitely like the Mini Wong. And
Mini
obviously,
Wong, yep.
you Mini Wong into like giving him additional power, and that's cool. But that's also very vertical, right? And Marvel Snap's not always about going vertical, because if you want to go really vertical, you could just play a blob. You know what I mean? Or like there's other ways to do that are more consistent than this, and that's kind of what brings me off him a little bit, right? And I had this thought of like, what if you play Magic on 3 and then like you Infinity Ultron, then you Odin the Infinity Ultron, and then you got all these stones, and you're like, what am I gonna do with these stones? I got so many options. I don't even know if you can get replicated stones. Like, could you get double Wongers? Like, could you? I don't know, right? But yeah, like the stones are good, but you commit your turn 6 to them.
Yeah, so my problem with the card is it's not even it being a 5/6 and you've got the Miracle play. It's that these are 3 costs, man. It's just so that's like such a. I get we can Gwyn, you could Quinjet, which makes it a 2, but you're only getting 2 stones. So then at that point, it's like, okay, well then they got another 2 to play, you know. So it's just like the end result is weird. I actually think the one that you double Ultron's power there and then you play the drone that's going to match the power that's a very strong play. Or the one where it's going to play one of your cards that you have in your hand. I mean, that's clearly insane. So I get what they did. High cost, really good abilities, but with so much variance and as like a last Hail Mary and you have to throw turn 5, I wish the cards were 2 cost probably. Like, to me, that sounds way more fun, fair, collective, and then you can maybe Quinjet and then they're 1 and then you can get something going. So yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot of fun. I just don't know how consistent it'll be.
I wonder if one of the ways you balance the card is by giving it a 3rd stone. What if you add a 3rd stone as the on reveal, right? Then suddenly Quinjet makes more sense because you fully commit to Ultron. You either play 2 stones without Quinjet or 3 stones with Quinjet.
Okay.
You just have to make sure you get unique stones to prevent too much combo-centric play. That might be a massive power spike, though.
Yeah.
Because not only are you going to reduce the variance of the card, because like you're going to get more consistent results from the stones you draw, but if you don't have Quinjet, you have to choose the best 2 of the 3 depending on the situation, which I think is fun. And if you have Quinjet, you can just throw all 3 down. I almost like having the idea of 3 stones, but then again, we're talking about a card that hasn't even released. Like, what, we're buffing a card that we haven't gotten our hands because of that. You know, this is going to be the best one of the month, right?
Yeah, for sure. Right. I mean, I would say if you think about the variance, we did this with Kate Bishop, right? Like the Soul Stone is for each full location is +2 power, right? To your cards that I would say would rather not, right? Power Stone, double his power is fine. That's a good one. On reveal happened twice. Yes. Put a card here is the best. I think the put a card here might be the best one because you're 3 costs and you could really get things going with that. Again, though, what does the deck look like? There's probably 2 cards. The Space Stone's okay. You can move the lowest enemy power card over to Ultron's location. I almost wish that was the highest powered card there, right? Because then you make it contest with Ultron and its power that it would have at that point, right? Maybe, potentially. So there's like 2-ish bad ones. So you could get those 2. That would be awful. And then there's obviously like 4 like pretty good ones. Yeah, overall, man, I just don't know. I just think it's a fun card. And you know, I don't know how much you can even cook with it at this stage till we get our hands on it.
Yeah, no, I agree absolutely.
Strange Supreme, guys. Now, Strange Supreme is is one of the few that we have. First of all, great episode. Strange Supreme is a 2/2, and it gains +2 power when it merges. Now it's going to merge at the end of the turn with one of your created cards into this. So, it's going to merge one of your created cards into Strange. Can this be anywhere on the board, correct?
So this is the second one that watching the trailer in advance was certainly appreciated. First of all, they buffed it. On our preview, which was like a month or whatever ago, 2 months ago now at this point, it was 2-0. Now it's a 2-2.
Yep.
With the same effect, except on the actual video, they did showcase it drawing a merged card from any of the locations.
Yeah.
That's a huge change.
Correct.
I almost assumed it had to be on the original one, but no, sorry, Bob. No, it can be pulling from anywhere, and that's a huge buff.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be detrimental too, but that's a very significant change.
Before we dive in, what's your star rating?
You know what? This is the one that I came in at, like, in our preview. You're like, Alex, what do you think? I was like, you know what? It seems like a 2-star card. Bruh, not anymore.
No.
Not after seeing that trailer. This card is good. There are some dirty combinations we're going to talk about momentarily here, but, like, I want to go, like, 4.5. Like, I don't think it's as good as Goliath, but this could be one of the cards of the month. It would not surprise me because of the way it's going to synergize in some very ruthless strategies.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 4. But, like, I would go 4.5 if I could allow myself.
Yeah, I think 4.5 sounds about right. Yeah, so, like, this thing just has limitless potential, and I think its floor is just great as a 2-cost card, right? Because there's so many cards that synergize with it that we're going to dive into. But then it continues the +2 on top of merging makes this thing crazy. Obviously, Arnim Zola, super fun. Like, super fun. That's like a killer time. But talk to me about some of the merge cards that you can get going with this.
Well, right off the top, man, it's insane with debris.
Yeah.
Like, talk about one man having fun, the other person just wanting to smash their phone.
Yeah.
You debris them, you take up 3 slots on their board, or 2 slots on the board, I should say. And then with you're just feasting on those rocks. You're feasting on the rocks, getting buffed, clearing up the space. I think that's absolutely insane. Yeah, man, another good interaction. I would be interested to see the interaction with Mysterio. Like, I don't know this answer, but if he eats the clones, or if he eats the real one, does he get the +4 after? Probably not. But you do technically clear the clones, no?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to work where you clear the clones. I guess that could be a slight risk, but either way, it's like Squirrel Girl is just a crazy, like, playing Squirrel into debris is such a silly line. Like, it's just, there's a lot of merging happening. Yeah, there's some clog, but then he's able to clear it up on your side. Their side's a little bit tougher. And then you can kind of continue to punch this. It's like the anti-clog card, but also encourages clog play. Like it's one of those again. I just think this thing has a lot of use across the board. You're able to build a lane vertically while also playing cards that go wide, which is always nice to have. Man, I don't know. I think 4.5 feels about right. I think we could also look back and say, wow, yeah, this was the card of the month because look where he's being plugged into. It's a 2-cost card, man. 2-5, 2-6 oftentimes is like, the fact that it's a 2-2 now is so crazy to me. It's a 1 merge. It's a 2-4. That's wild.
There's a couple things, though. Like, first of all, it could work really well with Thanos, for instance. With Thanos, you often want to clear those rocks. You'd even go as far as to Killmonger them sometimes, right? The only major problem I see is that it counteracts some of the strongest cards in the game. Like, Mockingbird is now, you can't Mockingbird in that deck because you're taking out all of Mockingbird's discounted, like, cards, right? All those enablers. And something like a Victoria Hand, which is going to get the benefit of Kahhori, those created cards are going to get munched on, right? So Victoria Hand, she probably won't like it. I was going to cope for a sec, but no, you're not going to play those two together. But realistically, I saw it as a challenge for Mockingbird, for sure. So those decks are kind of
Gilgamesh,
odds with each other.
Too. Like you're going to be eating the squirrels by the time he comes out. He'll get the buff, which is nice from him, but like there's not. Yeah, there are some. I think they kind of thought that out a little bit. Like some of these super strong synergies may not work with them. I agree there. I think though having the ability to play things and get your locations not completely full is a huge stepping stone, because that's a hurdle that we've ran into a lot in Snap, right? So that's potentially a big bonus.
He will not work effectively probably with Captain Carter, I would imagine, because he's going to eat stuff and move things out of there. Maybe he will, I don't know. The only other thing I can think of is he's obviously going to be a magnet for Shadow King and Shang-Chi, right? Those will be big magnets for him. And if you Zola him, will he eat himself?
If you Zola him, will he eat himself? What a question, bro. Yeah. I think so. Right? That's awesome.
Because you mentioned it before, and I was like, wait a minute.
Wait a second. Do they all eat themselves? Like, is there only one left over? Because the first one eats the second one, and the third one eats that one, and then it's done?
I have no idea, bud.
Bro, that's a A+ interaction. That's the late night Alex coaching questions you'd love to see. Last but not least, actually we have two. We have Hydra Stomper. Now Hydra Stomper is again, Alex, kind of like Morbius, what we just said. We want more of these for other archetypes. Well, Move finally has it. It is a 3-cost, 2-power card, ongoing, +1 power for each time one of your cards moved this game. And they change it to where it's now each time it moves, not if one single card moves. So that's really good. That's really going to help it just get higher and higher. But what are your thoughts on the card?
I think I love this card. I still think that the original data mine of you getting buffed for how often any card moved, which allowed it to play the Scream decks, was still probably a card that I think comes out in Marvel Snap. This was originally a 3-1. They buffed it to 3-2, and I think that should be a red flag for the most part, but it's not for me. I can see this card being absolutely wild. There's a couple really synergistic cards, but this is very naturally a very good move card that I think does not rely on combo move. Like right now, move is very Frigga bounce centric of it's very head gamey, and this is no, don't worry about that. Just play move, put cards on the field, and let them all, cha-cha slide left or whatever it is, right? So there's a couple cards that are going to be true bangers with Hydra Stomper. I'm pretty impressed with it.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I think that my reservation, what was the star rating you gave him?
You know what? On my notes, I have 4.5 question mark.
Whoa.
Almost willing to go that high. I think Hydra Stomper, my concern is that I wonder if the move decks that it's in aren't good enough, but I think the card is super good.
That's
what I mean?
That's
I think
my
the
main
card is
concern.
really
I was gonna say, if you want to know my concern, it's a move card, bro. I'm done getting torched by the Madam Webs of the world. I'd get excited and then I get reminded it's in the move archetype. I think this is a great, fantastic card for the archetype that can really help it scale vertically in lanes that it needs to, and it's fascinating with a lot of the synergy that can be done. Move historically 3 cost is such a hyper aggressive cost. That's one of the issues, like Vulture and setting up moves. You only have so much time to move stuff, right? So clearly Heimdall is the winner because you're able to have a big wolf move and then everything goes up at the same time and then whatever, right? That's great. And then some of these independent movers like Jeff is great too. Those are the ones that I think are really cool as a general use. I'm gonna go with a 3 though, just because I've been burned too many times, and I feel like I could even go low. I feel like I might even go 2.5. I'm gonna go 2.5.
Bro, 2.5. Okay, hold on. I might change your mind though, because I think there's a card that you might not realize is as good as it is with this card. If you play Silk on curve and you play Hydra Stomper on top, Hydra Stomper resolves, Silk moves, and it immediately gets buffed. And then every single card you play from then on, Silk is moving and buffing Hydra Stomper.
Yo, hold on now.
See? No, see? Once you start to think about it, things can start moving everywhere, bud.
So you know what? This is a great job, because to me, in a regular move deck, I'm not getting burned again. In these other type of move decks where you get you get the Craven, the Silky Smooth or whatever, right? And you get these cards that just move on their own, like I said. But the Silk is interesting. Heck, even Hydra Bob in there. You get the initial snap, man. You get the
Sam Wilson.
Get him going. Sam Wilson has a lot of movement too. So let's say you can move 3, 4, 5 times. Yeah, then it's getting up to dang. Okay. All right. I think it could be pretty good then. Wow, I'm impressed.
I think about Silk, right? Think about on one turn, because your opponent will force Silk to move too. So they play on Silk, Silk moves, Silk moves, Silk moves. You're playing on Silk, Silk's moving, Silk's moving. They can proc it more than you think.
Not to mention, this is just a great Spider-Man, by the way. Not to mention that move cards, these decks have always been good. Silky Smooth was good because you have the agency of moving too. So now you have this thing to move, but then you also get. I want to see how it curves out. Yeah, I'm definitely not giving it a 2.5 now. I probably 3 though. I'm still gonna go 3, but I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong with this one.
I talked you up. Usually you do that to me.
Yeah, I like the Silk. Yeah, I do. I like it for whatever reason. Because Scream is what allows this card to exist, pretty much. This is just a good card to be able to get countered by Scream. But man, I like it a lot. I do. Last but not least, we have Dum Dum Dugan. This is the high voltage card of the month. 2/3. Your front row cards here have +1 power. It's a 2/5 that you got to play a little bit later. 2/4 if you play it on curve, I guess. Okay. I think, honestly, this is fine for Spectrum decks.
I mean, this is, again, it provides a feedback loop to Agent Carter that we were kind of discussing before, right? And it's another inexpensive card that allows Spectrum hits. Yeah, it's probably good. It's the least exciting, I'll tell you. I'm giving it 2 stars because even though I can see it seeing play, I don't think it's going to be competitive at the end of the day. Because now you're really playing too much into the positioning of the cards, I think. And I think there's going to be better cards to include in ongoing, especially with like, well, you're going to play Dum Dum over here instead of playing Goliath? Get the hell out of here. Like, you know what I mean? It's not going to happen. You're going to have Goliath in the deck. You're going to have Moonstone in the deck. The deck's going to build itself, and Dum Dum ain't going to be in there.
Dum Dum's the free card of the month. Yeah, I think he's fine for Spectrum, but yeah, he's definitely the free, like, oh, you didn't get Goliath, we have Goliath at home. You know, like that. Because, he has, 2/7 potential with Spectrum. So, okay. All right. I see the vision. And he's theoretically pretty easy to get to a 2/5. I think he's okay, dude. I don't think he's that bad. I think he's actually pretty good. I'm going to give him like a 3.
Okay. So I'm 2, you 3?
Yeah. I feel
Dum Dum's going to be the card of the month, basically. I see. This is what's going to happen. Dum Dum's going to break the meta.
5-star for Dum Dum. Now speaking of, I was gonna say speaking of Dum Dums, that's an Alex coach transition right there. Good God, we're trying to hold it together. Let's talk about the OTA before we close things here for the new season.
To our rankings,
oh yeah, that's right. Okay, let's rank the cards, Alex, top to bottom.
I got my ranks ready.
Starting with the best. Best of the month is what?
Number 1, Goliath.
Agreed. 2.
Number 2, I didn't know what to do. I went back and forth on them. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to say Hydra Stompers 2.
Yo, holy shit. Okay, I like it. I thought you were debating between Strange. I'm going to go Captain Carter 2.
Captain Carter at 2? No way. Okay, for me, 3 is Strange.
Sorry, Strange, then Captain. Yeah, Strange, then Captain.
Okay, that makes more sense. I thought you were higher on Strange.
Here's the problem, though, bro, is that season pass cards, they always over-deliver. Every time we rank them low, they're always like the best card of the month. So it's like, I could just see us being burned here. Clip it right now. But yeah, it's Strange, then Captain Carter. And you have Hydra at 2. And then you have Captain after that.
So the way I have it is Goliath, Hydra Stomper, Strange Supreme, Agent Carter. And then next I have Kahhori.
Kahhori's next. I'm going to go... Ooh. Yo, this is a fun one to rank. Kahhori next. I'm going to go... Yeah, Kahhori. Yeah, it's got to be.
And then Infinity Ultron, Dum Dum.
I think Dum Dum, then Infinity Ultron.
What? Infinity Ultron loses to Dum Dum?
I'm just kidding, bro. I mean, what? He's a 2. Just think about this, though, real quick. We loved Lizard so much. We freaked out about him because he's a 2/5 for so long. Dum Dum is a very easy 2/5.
Dum Dum sucks.
He does suck. I'm just trying to talk off Dum Dum. I'm trying to get him. I'm trying to pump up him. Yeah, I think we pretty much agree completely, except Hydra Stomper. I would have below Carter, and you would have it above Strange, which is awesome.
Man, this is one of those things, though, I get really nervous because, like, I'm kind of going out on a limb here. Like, I don't think other people are going to see Hydra Stomper as being an absolute banger. I just think it's going to be really good. I see the numbers.
Reach out to me, and you need to open up your Hydra Stomper video with the Alex was dead ass wrong intro, like I did for the Hulkling.
I know. You know what, though? This will be like the next card that people never forgive me for when I miss on.
Oh.
This is like the next 2 years will be, remember when Alex said Hydra Stomper was going to be good?
Or you're the prophet.
I have that to look forward to.
Or you're the chosen one, man. You're the prophet. Listen, interesting season. We're gonna have to see a lot play out to see where it ultimately lands. Alex, let's go ahead. Let's talk briefly about the OTA. Obviously we had Galacta, we had Iron Patriot, who I quoted I think 2 months ago as like I think one of the best cards to come out. Man, I'm telling you, I thought that card was cracked. It was my play style, so I loved it even more. Evidently, it got hit with the nerf a little bit. How much were those changes to you? How much do you think those impacted it?
You know what? I think they did the right thing with Iron Patriot because if they took power off it, it has the opposite effect of what Gladiator did. Like, that power is very important, Iron Patriot, because the whole effect is based off him being able to compete in the location. And so that power is so much more critical. So if they dropped him to a 2/2, I think that card would have felt significantly worse. it would have been much more reliant on cards like Rocket and Groot, which is a Series 5 card that people are still in the process of collecting. And so as a result, changing it to the -3 buff for the card that from -4, like the cost reduction, I think was probably the best thing they could have done with it. Did it have to get nerfed though? Probably. I think this is probably the best thing they could have done.
It was so plug and played. Yeah. I mean, it opened up the discussion about the season pass cards and stuff we talked about. Speaking of stuff we talked about, Alex Kocha nailing it like a prophet. Sauron 2-2. Did it resurrect Shuri Sauron?
It absolutely did.
Yeah, dude. I was about to say. I was playing
it's
this.
It's like crazy. Like you're seeing the Surtur shell being used in Sauron right now. And it's legit amongst the highest win rate cards in the game right now. It actually made me nervous. I'm like, are they going to nerf something in this shell now? Like they just buffed Sauron. It's Sauron. I'm not sure.
2-1.
We keep saying it differently. We'll figure it out one of these days.
Keep it at 2.
But like, I'm like, man, are they going to nerf it now?
They said they were experimenting with it. They did say that. They typically keep it when they say that, but yeah, this could go down. It definitely helped out the main core identity problems, of the deck in general. So it was cool to see this card go up, just crazy in value. And then we had small bump ups to Ghost Rider and what was the other bump up? What was the other bump up?
I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember.
Pixie got the other bump up.
Pixie. That one sucked. Don't give me that. I'm giving a Pixie +1. That was a you guys forgot about Pixie buff. That is that's not even a buff. Yeah, you want to buff Pixie? Give it the Loki treatment. Make it a 1-drop.
Yeah, it's crazy how there's sometimes a card gets +1 and we're like, wow, it makes a big difference. And there's other times it's like, it's just not going to do anything. Like, it's just not going to make a massive difference for the card. But altogether, guys, fun season to look forward to. A lot to really just going to be fun, highlighting these cards each week and what we see out of it. Guys, if you want to go ahead and see where we landed last month, Alex will be talking about it, as well as the big topic, and that's the new acquisition in Snap. There's a lot to break down, a lot of conversation to be had. We'll be talking about that over there. And until the next one, guys, happy snapping.